not making a decision is a decision to stay stuck where you're at.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Truth Talks, the podcast that brings you real strategies for sustainable fitness transformation. As always, I'm Courtney, and this is my brother, Paris. And Paris, today, I'm actually going to tell you a little bit of a story. Is that okay to just get us going?
I love stories. Let's do this.
Okay. We're going to rewind several years back. I was about 1 year into my corporate career, and I had an opportunity to leave for another job. I got another job offer. And at the time, I was so torn between what decision I wanted to make. I was like, listen, I know I still have a growth trajectory ahead of myself. Like here, I have more to learn where I am, but at the same time, this offer is really enticing. It was like with a really, really big company that's very reputable. And a friend of mine who was a coworker at the time said to me, you know what, Courtney, there's no comfort in the learning zone and there's no learning in the comfort zone. And to me, that was really just indicative of the fact that I was feeling so torn and so uncomfortable by making either decision. I was stuck. I was so stuck because I didn't want to make a choice either way. But regardless of what choice I made, I was going to end up being uncomfortable in a certain way. But that was the best indicator that I was learning and taking a chance on growth. So that's what I wanted to share, just because I think it's important to kick off a conversation about the comfort zone, which, spoiler alert, that's what we're talking about today, with a real life application of it.
I love that. And I'm going to add some anecdote to this as well, and also give another quote that's pretty much exactly what you said, but it's my version of it, which I didn't make this up, which is there's no growth in the comfort zone and there's no comfort in the growth zone, which is
so basically learning and growing hand in hand.
100%. And if I think about the times where I've actually made like the biggest leaps in my life with like personal development or progress or whatever, have been times where I actually got really uncomfortable with certain things. But then on the other side of it, you build so much resilience. You always, take that big step forward. Like even, hiring a coach, for example, like we've put a lot of big investments into coaching and mentorship for both of us, right? And a lot of times that's scary. Like I still remember when I made my first big investment into coaching, and it was like, holy crap, okay, like we're doing this. But then once you do that, and then you kind of see the benefit of that on the other side, you're like, man, I'm so glad I did that. And honestly, like I just made this big leap forward in my development. And I think that's why it's important to not let ourselves get overly comfy and allow ourselves to go through those challenging things, because I've said this before, and my biggest fear is being stagnant. Mm-hmm. I hate that so much. I'll do anything to feel like I'm at least just taking an inch step forward. And I feel like when you start to realize that the true discomfort is actually when you are comfortable, then the perspective changes, right? Like there's nothing more uncomfortable to me than feeling overly comfortable. Like when I'm too comfortable, it's like things are too easy. Like I need to do something, to push myself. And I think that's the kind of mindset that I'm trying to, doesn't mean that I'm not happy, or doesn't mean that I'm not stable, but it just means I want to be pushed and I want to do something,
Yeah, Paris, that's absolutely it, right? 100%. But for us to start moving forward in this conversation, we do need to actually talk a little bit about that comfort zone and mm-hmm. what it feels like. Let's define it. So what does it mean when somebody says to you, hey, I'm in the comfort zone? Or mm-hmm. if you were to say to someone, hey, I think you're stuck in the comfort zone, what do you really mean by that? Unpack that for us.
I think you could see this a few different ways. I think what's comfortable to us is usually what's familiar. Mm-hmm. But the scary thing about that is sometimes what's familiar is not giving us those leaps and bounds of progress that we want. Mm-hmm. But we just stay there because it's what we're used to. And familiarity allows us to kind of not have to deal with a fear of unknowns.
Yes. Fear of unknowns is huge.
Yeah. Well, that's the biggest thing that keeps people in the comfort zone. But yeah, I think comfort zone is, sticking with what's familiar, regardless of if it's, moving it forward or not, and avoiding taking the actions that are outside of what you've either typically done or what you find easy, quote unquote, mm-hmm. Just because, you feel kind of complacent and okay, it's safe.
Yeah. And that brings to mind for me the idea of the devil you know versus the devil you don't, mm-hmm. right? And I'm not saying every comfort zone is evil or whatever, but what I am saying is that sometimes that familiarity factor trumps any other kind of consideration, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's known, which is predictable. Mm-hmm. And the thing that we need to be mindful of in this conversation is like change, aka stepping out of a comfort zone or choosing something unfamiliar, inherently has friction.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Mm-hmm.
always going to be friction when you do something that's not what you're used to doing, because like it's jarring. It's like, what the heck, right?
Yeah.
So you might have an analogy for that. I don't know. You always have a great analogy. I'd love to hear it if you do. But to me, that's what that comes to mind for me. Of like, why are we in a comfort zone? Well, it's easy. There's no friction.
Yeah. I think I don't have an analogy for this one, surprisingly.
What? You have
I
so many good
know.
analogies all the time.
Crazy, right? Crazy.
Yeah.
But what I will say is like, here's what I'm going to kind of come up with on the spot, right? The comfort zone. Let's say you're in a pool, okay? So maybe I do have an analogy that I'm just
You
making
do.
up.
I knew there would be one.
So let's say we're in a pool, right? And your friend hands you this floaty before you go, and you're like, "Oh, thanks, friend." Like, and you're sitting on this floaty, and you're like, "This is nice." You know, I'm chilling. I'm sitting on this floaty, and then somebody says, "Hey, you know what would be cool if we just swam for a bit and I took away your floaty?" And now you're going to treading water, okay? But to get to the other side of the pool, the floaty is, I mean, you might, maybe if the wind blows the right way, push you in that direction. However, if you were to tread water and actually swim, it would be challenging. Your muscle would be tired, you'd be out of breath, but you would actually make it to the other side of the pool. But what happens is
you'd make it there faster, and you'd actually guarantee you make it there because you're in control of the outcomes versus waiting for the wind. We found our analogy.
There we go. But the problem is that a lot of people in their lives, especially with their fitness journey, but other things too, is they just chill in their floaty the whole entire time, with never experiencing what it's like to actually make it to the other side of the pool.
Yeah. And you know what's kind of cool about that is like, if you make it to the other side of the pool, you could potentially set up your floaty on the other side of the pool and get comfortable again. Or maybe you can get a whole new floaty that actually suits the dimensions of that side of the pool and it's way more comfortable. You never know.
Yeah. And it's probably sunny over there too, you know.
Exactly.
The drinks are better. They're giving out like mimosas or something.
Yeah. Okay, we took the analogy too far now. But I think it's just like, that's what it is, right? It's like understanding that there could be an opportunity for you on the other side worth investigating, but it does take that jump into the water. It takes that moment of maybe the water's cold and you're like, oh shoot, there's a little bit of a shock factor here, right? But we need to get through that in order to understand what the opportunities are on the other side. And you might be like, but I don't know what the opportunities are, but like, why not find out? And if you don't like them, you can always swim back to the other side of the pool. No problem, right?
Exactly.
But you kind of owe it to yourself to be able to make decisions with more information. And what I mean by that is one of the reasons we stay super comfortable is because there's a decision fatigue involved with change. Yes. In order to break out of that comfort zone, you need to kind of say, hey, I need to make a decision. And sometimes I'm somebody, I can be very indecisive. Ask me what I want for lunch. Okay, I usually have like, 2-3 options in the repertoire, but if I'm going out to lunch somewhere, oh my God, I'll sit there for an hour before deciding. So when it comes to making a decision, that cannot always feel easy. But when you don't make a decision, you are inherently making a decision to stay.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
I knew you were going to say it, so I'm sorry I beat you to it. But
no, you're good.
By not making a decision, you are making a decision to stay where you are. So yes, I understand that we make so many decisions over the course of our day and there's decision fatigue, but you have to recognize that either way you're making a decision. So sometimes that extra little bit of friction to make a different decision than you would have otherwise made can also be productive.
So true. Yeah. Let's just repeat that again. Not making a decision is a decision to stay stuck where you're at. And if you're not happy with where you're at, then you need to make a different decision. And I think, the problem that, a lot of people run into in their fitness journey, and a lot of people that we talk to that maybe aren't happy with where they're at in their fitness journey, is that they still don't make a decision whether they want to make a change yet. And then they just stay stuck. And it's like, we're here because you haven't been able to make a decision. So a lot of people, even we chat, they're like, oh, I'm not sure if I want to do this or whatever. It's like, wait, hold on a second. The whole entire reason why we're having this conversation about you not being happy with where you're at is because you failed to make a decision to move forward with something in the past. And now we're sitting in that same spot. So now is your moment where you can actually make a decision that's probably going to serve you pretty well versus making the decision, which is not making a decision, to just stay where you're at.
Yeah, absolutely. And in that case, what you're doing is you're choosing different forms of comfort or different discomforts, right? So when you're saying, okay, this hypothetical person who comes to you and they're like, I'm so uncomfortable with where I'm at, like this sucks. I want to see change. I want to make progress. And then they say, okay, I'm not sure if I want to make a decision on doing something new. Okay. So therefore the inherent decision is you're going to stay where you are. And at that point you are accepting both the comforts and discomforts of that decision, right? So we're talking about fitness here now, enough of the pool analogy. Let's say somebody's really not happy with their body. They feel so uncomfortable in their own skin. They're not confident. They're dealing with a lot of, body dysmorphia, whatever it is. whatever that discomfort is for that individual, and they say, I don't feel ready to commit to something new, to do something about it. You are choosing to stay in that level of discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
And that comfort zone is also your discomfort zone in that case. It's the
Yeah.
comfort zone because it's familiar, because it's continuous, because it's predictable, because
Mm-hmm.
you know exactly what tomorrow is going to look like. But it's discomfort because it also comes with all of those things that you are wanting to change, but not making the decision to change.
That's so good. And there's that classic saying, it's like choose your hard, right? You
Yep.
can either choose the quote unquote hard of behavioral change,
Mm-hmm.
or you can choose the hard of sitting in a body, a mindset, a health state
Yep.
that you are really not happy with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that
Absolutely.
that's the biggest thing to think about. And I think, as I started this conversation with, is I'd much rather choose the heart of changing my behaviors and doing some things maybe I haven't done before, if that gives me even the slightest chance of like making progress out of my current situation,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm really like not happy with where I'm at. So I think, yeah, choose your heart is, that's such a great saying, and there was a reason why that got kind of famous, and I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I say here, recognizing you and I are both people who are, we're growth mindsetters. Okay. We want to progress in life, whether that's in our fitness journeys, in business, in self-development, whatever it is. Like, you and I are people who often choose that path. And
Mm-hmm.
so we've had years and years of experience of, you know, choosing the discomfort of change
Mm-hmm.
in favor of the discomfort of staying where we are. And I think that's kind of innate to us both. So I'm not expecting everyone else in the world to think the same way. Right.
Yeah.
But I
No,
think
for
what,
sure.
yeah. So sorry,
Yeah.
you were going to say something on that. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it's like, but even when I first started my whole self development journey, like I made a decision. It's either I'm going to face the harder choices in life, like even changing my friend group,
Mm-hmm.
maybe going out partying less, and like sticking to a regime, and like tracking my food and all these things,
Mm-hmm.
because it was so hard for me to stay unhappy with where I was at. Like looking in the mirror, I don't know. I don't know about you, but it's a lot harder to just look in the mirror every day and be unhappy with where you're at than just track your food, hit your workouts, change your mind, like, you know, work on those things. It's like, I don't know about you, but I would choose the second one. Yeah.
I think the perspective on what made that let's say trade-off worthwhile for you is the hard stuff was all externalized, right? Like tracking
Mm-hmm.
your food. Okay, yeah, it's hard because it's work to learn that skill. It gets easier over time, but it's kind of like it's a predictable hard. Like, you know, okay, if I'm going to track my food, I need to cook it, weigh it on the scale, put it in the app. Like, yeah, it's hard, but it's external. It's like functional. The internal hard is so challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Like that psychological discomfort with being unhappy with your current state is
Nothing worse than that.
there's nothing worse than that, right? So like, if you're now saying like, what is that level of hard? Okay, I can't even envision the way it could impact my life. And if you can, it's a lot deeper, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think for anybody who's out there listening, and like maybe you are a little bit comfortable being like, I'm okay with like my discomfort, just ask yourself, like, 3 days from now, future you, which discomfort do you want to be facing? What's the downstream effect of that? Because I bet you in a year's time, you're not going to be remembering, oh, that first day I tracked my food was so hard.
Yeah.
Versus
Yeah.
a year from now being like, oh my God, the way I felt at the pool yesterday, we're back to the pool,
Mm-hmm.
was really stuck with me. I can't shake that feeling. Right.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, even if you're not, if sometimes people haven't hit that threshold of discomfort with how they feel in their body to like trigger them to make a change.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like that quote unquote like pain isn't strong enough to like elicit a change in behavior.
Mm-hmm.
However, time is not your best friend when you're not taking actions that are positive, right? When you're not using it purposefully. So if you're not reaching that threshold of, oh, I don't really like how I'm looking, but it's not like that bad yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to put this decision to start taking action off. But again, time is not nice. So, you know, you in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, it's not going to get any better. It's only going to get worse. So why wait until you hit that threshold of like, wow, I am super unhappy with where I'm at, versus being proactive and being like, okay, I don't like where I'm at now. Probably going to get worse. So I may as well start working towards this now, because it's easier than starting later.
Yeah. It's like the time compounds in either direction. So choose
Yeah.
the direction. One thing I do want to mention is right now we are talking about the comfort zone through the lens of discomfort, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of talking about how you can be so comfortable with the discomfort that you're experiencing that you choose to stay there because it's a predictable discomfort. So it's weird because we're kind of using discomfort and comfort zone interchangeably, but that's one version of the comfort zone. It's where you are so comfortable being uncomfortable that you don't even consider the opportunity for change.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk about the flip side of that though? Because I shared a quote on this yesterday on my Instagram about how sometimes like not everybody needs to change in their fitness journey, right? Like I think the common narratives are, oh, this person had, went through this challenge and they found fitness and they came out of it a changed person, or this person's so uncomfortable in their skin and they did something about it and they came out the other side. Like, pain can be a great trigger for your fitness journey, but sometimes it's not, right? And so sometimes the comfort zone is like, I don't actually need to change. Like, I'm actually good. I'm content.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
And that's a
interesting.
different
Yeah,
version of the comfort zone where you're just like, things are good for me right now. And I think we need to acknowledge that too,
that's
because
true.
you're
Yeah.
not running away from something, but you could be running towards something else if you do break out of that comfort zone.
Yeah, it's like the comfort zone of like good enough.
Yeah,
That
good.
is that. Yeah,
Exactly.
it's like I'm not out of shape. I'm not in great shape, but I'm. It's like it's good enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that saying of like good being good robs you from being great
Being
or something
great.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of that mindset of like things are good enough, and I just hate that so much. Of just like good enough. It's like why not maximize your potential in all aspects? And I think with people's fitness journey, like aren't you fueled by the curiosity? We talked about this a
Fueled by
lot, me
curiosity.
and you,
Mm-hmm.
right? Fueled by curiosity. Like, aren't you curious?
Mm-hmm.
If you're like, if you, for example, if you never had like expert guidance in your corner, never like really took it all your variables to the next level, like, aren't you curious where you could go
Exactly.
if like you're good enough now? Imagine what would happen if you like really optimize
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Like, where would you be?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And like I feel like initially I was like, if I go back 12, 13 years, I was uncomfortable in my own skin, and that's why I started going to the gym and monitoring my food intake, whatever it was. That is not the reason I've stayed doing this. Like I have
Mm-hmm.
at so many points over those 12 years been like, wow, I feel good about this, or wow, this is awesome progress. Like, but all that did was actually make me want more, right?
Yeah.
So even in those moments where I'm like, I kind of got to this place where I feel good in, in a bikini, or I got to this place where I'm comfortable taking these photos, or I got to this place when I'm comfortable wearing a sports bra at the gym. I've been in all those situations.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still going for improvement
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
even though those things brought me a certain level of comfort, I didn't stay stuck in it, right? I wanted
Yeah.
to keep going. And so for me, or for anyone else listening who isn't operating from a place of pain or current discomfort, sometimes your comfort zone is settling for, just like you said, Paris, good enough, or I'm happy with this.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think two things can be true at the same time. You can be content and still want more. I'm not saying that, I'm not grateful for
Mm-hmm.
where I am. I'm very grateful for where I am, and it came from putting in the work. So I'm not sitting here being like, oh, this doesn't even matter because I could be better. That's not the
Mm-hmm.
mindset at all.
Mm-hmm.
The mindset is, wow, I've come so far. I'm so happy with where I am. I'm still curious about where I could go next.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's just as powerful. I think what I've said before in a post a long time ago is the emotion that gets you started doesn't have to keep you going. So it's like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of us do start from insecurity or pain or discomfort of where we're at, or
Yeah.
maybe some people have a health event or get pre-diabetic or whatever, like something like that, right? That can kickstart your journey.
Mm-hmm.
But once you've scratched that itch, or once you've kind of made it through that and solved that potential problem or whatever, then there has to be something else that drives you. And usually, as Courtney just said, it's curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you think, oh wow, I'm gonna, I'll be happy with my physique when I get to this. And then you're there, you're like, yeah, I'm proud of what I did, but like there's another level above this. I know that. And then you get to that level and you're like, okay, there's probably another level. And then it becomes this game of optimization rather than a game of escaping pain. And once you get there, that's how you're really gonna be winning in your fitness journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I could not agree more. I could not agree more. And that's why we always go back to this journey doesn't end, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's because there's always something new to be curious about, which is pretty
Yeah.
cool.
And before we move on to the next topic, got one more thing to rant about.
Go
And
for it.
it's last
That's
thing
what
I'm
I'm
going
here
to talk
for.
about is
Rant
like,
away.
yeah, it's like, people in the relationships that get a little bit too comfortable. It's like they know it's not the right partner for them or the right friend group for them, but because it's familiar and comfortable, they stay. It's, I think, the same thing also with people's workout programs or nutrition protocols that they're following, or even the coach that they're with, right?
Oh, the coach.
Like
Oh my God. Yeah.
they'll stick with a coach just because it's like, well, I've been working with them for this long period of time. It's like, and how's that been working for? Like, did you see the progress? Well, no, I didn't really. It's like, well, what are we like? Why are you there?
Yeah.
It's comfortable. Familiarity doesn't mean anything.
Here's the thing.
So
Loyalty, I respect.
Yeah. Oh,
Totally respect
absolutely.
loyalty, right?
100%. Yeah.
So like I've got to just say it. We
Yeah.
respect
Core
that
value for sure.
for
Yeah.
sure. What I also respect is patience, right? Giving things a chance to see how they play out is
Totally.
also really important.
Totally.
And so like, you know, the two things in that is like, okay, well, if you're just being like, I'm too comfortable with this. No, 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 no. That doesn't mean you
Mm-hmm.
just hop to the next thing. That's
Mm-hmm.
not what we're saying about the comfort zone. But I think you need to, the comfort zone is recognizing one of two things: what's not working for you, and
Mm-hmm.
why, more importantly, why is it not working? And if you've given it the appropriate timeline or whatever, and you've investigated it, then you need to understand that. And that can give you
Mm-hmm.
leverage to break out of it. Or that's more from the place of discomfort. Or if you're going for like the curiosity angle, then you need to understand, okay, so what am I really comfortable with?
Mm-hmm.
What is that, like, ideal next thing for me? Like, where's the natural place of progression, or what's a new goal I can set? Right. So those
Yeah.
are the two things I think can really start to get you breaking out of the comfort zone. Is like in that first case, it's understanding what's not working for you and why. In the
Mm-hmm.
second case, where you're comfortable but content, it's understanding, okay, well, what could I chase next? What's the next goal? What's the potential here?
Yeah.
And how do I get
Awesome.
there? Yeah.
Love this. Very insightful conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to talk about in terms of like helping people break out of a comfort zone? Like what advice you would give?
Um, I think first, I talk about self awareness a lot, but I do think it comes back to you have to have a self awareness to know, like, I'm being too comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it takes somebody else calling you out, like, even for
Mm-hmm.
us, like, for example, in one competition prep that I did, like, my coach was kind of like, all right, we're going to dig in here and, like, go for it. And I was like, oh, shit, like, that looks low with the calories. Like, we do it. But, like, that's his job to be like, bro, you're being too comfortable. Like, we need to do this for the goal that we have because it was an extreme goal. And I think a lot of times, if you can't see for yourself, because it's really tough sometimes to see for yourself, you need to trust that external eye. And a lot of times, either a mentor and a coach, or sometimes even a friend or a family member can kind of point out and be like, you got to do this. You're too comfortable with where you're at.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We like the same reasons that we stay where we are because we are where we are, if that makes sense, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
something needs to change in order for something to change. And like
Yes.
you can't tell yourself that same narrative because you've been telling yourself the same narrative that's been keeping you where you are in the
Yeah.
comfort
You've
zone,
been
right?
you've
Like,
been you've been going and buying your own bullshit for however many months and years.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I do really think
Yeah.
at finding an external source of like can be helpful 100%.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it's brings some peace of mind, right? Because if you're battling that yourself and then someone else can give you the clarity of like, no, this is the thing you're too comfortable with, or this is the thing that's keeping you comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying listen to Joe Schmo's opinion off the street. I'm just
No,
saying
no, no, no.
find someone you
A
trust.
trusted opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times coaching comes with tough conversations,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes a lot of times it is having to call people out on what's not serving them, and it's all out of kind of a place of love, but we're so biased to our own narrative that we've been telling ourselves. And there's that great quote is like about our beliefs, like we believe everything to be you might know what I'm trying to get to. It's like I'm
everything
blanking
that
on a
we've
quote.
experienced. Let me see if I can put it into words.
Yeah.
What you're thinking, because I'm going to use the sibling telepathy here.
Yeah.
Okay. Everything that we've experienced has formed our belief system,
Mm-hmm.
right? So and we don't know what we haven't experienced. So it's hard to change your belief systems when they're only based on what you've experienced.
Mm-hmm.
Versus somebody else might have either experienced the same things with you as you in a different context, or experience different things, and therefore they can bring new belief systems to the table. You just have to ask yourself, does that person's belief systems, values, experiences align with either where I am or where I want to go?
That's great. I like that.
Was that what
I
you were
can't
thinking?
remember the similar, like a parallel thought to that.
Okay.
But I think the thing is, like, yeah, belief systems influence our actions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So in order to change the result, we need to change our actions, which stem from belief systems. So it's like, if you're not happy with where you're at right now, we need to be doing different actions, yes. But the actions, since they come from belief systems and they stem from belief systems, then we actually need to change the way we think about things in our thought patterns. Absolutely. So somebody else has to kind of like install, like sometimes with newer clients, I try to like install certain belief systems into them, and then they can have that aha moment. It's like, here, let's just plug and play this belief system. Yeah, here's how you should think about this.
Right. One thing I want to add is when you are considering what beliefs you have or don't yet have and what those belief systems are in the context of comfort, I do think we need to ask ourselves, like, what kind of comfort are we dealing with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the default, I think, is psychological comfort. Like that, there's a
Yep.
psychological comfort of what I was saying earlier, the predictability, what you said about familiarity. There's a psychological comfort with that.
Mm-hmm.
But it could also be like a physical comfort, right? Like if I'm not unhappy in my body, or like I like the way my current workouts feel, right? Like cool, I'm going to keep doing them, right? Like that's a physical
Yeah.
comfort. It could also be like an emotional comfort. It could be a social comfort, right? Like, or something about your environment. Like if you're stuck with I shouldn't say stuck with, if you're with a coach who's no longer serving you, right? Or you don't understand why you're not seeing progress working with that coach and they can't explain it to you, that might just be an environmental comfort. I'm just so used to being with them, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
what you're saying with your partner, not with your partner, but with a
Yeah. With
hypothetical partner,
yeah. Yeah.
your social comfort. So I think if you can ask yourself, what is the comfort level I'm experiencing? Like what am I currently super, super comfortable with? And on the flip side, if there's something you're uncomfortable with, what
Mm-hmm.
specifically is it? Because then you can find the belief systems that relate specifically to that type of comfort or discomfort.
Yep. Good. I like it. Great combo.
Amazing. Let me ask you something before we wrap
Yeah.
up. Because you know how
Yeah.
we always do the gray zone and we say two sides and there's nuance to
Yeah.
everything, blah, blah, blah. Is there a version of a comfort zone that can actually be productive? Because we've kind of framed this conversation through the lens of either you're really uncomfortable and it's keeping you stuck, or you're comfortable but you're not progressing to the next level. So both those are kind of like missed opportunities, let's say. But
Mm-hmm.
could a comfort zone actually be productive?
Once you've done the internal work and once you've done the skill development and everything, then like your baseline habits that seem comfortable for you
Mm-hmm.
are actually productive habits.
Okay.
And also going back to what I said at the beginning, where it's like it's uncomfortable for me to feel too comfortable because I know I'm not like getting any sort of to the next level. So I think that's also maybe
Can you
something to
give some
think about.
examples of like the habits one? Can we just make it feel tangible?
Yeah, like for me, a lot of things that are comfortable are like me sitting, weirdly enough, like sitting down at my desk. um
Physically comfortable.
yeah, like, well, yeah, it's
You got a
physically
good chair,
comfortable as
right?
well.
Yeah.
Or like doing the same things at the
Mm-hmm.
same times, working out at the same time, having the same routine around
Mm-hmm.
what I eat before I work out, when I
Mm-hmm.
eat it, and when I go to gym. Like those things, how I track my workouts, when I go to bed, when I wake up, like those are all super comfortable for me.
You are really, really comfortable in your routine. I think that's what it comes down to. Your
Yes, it
routine
is.
is so like,
It's very
for
comfortable
anybody
for
who
me.
knows Paris, you
Yeah,
take him out of his routine and he's like, what the heck?
yeah,
Where's
yeah,
my stuff? Yeah.
exactly. So, and even if I, yeah, it's true. And I'm getting better at operating outside my routine. But I will say I'm also good at creating routine in chaotic environments. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm completely thrown out of my routine, I will immediately build a routine. Even if it's
Yes,
the
yes,
first
yes, yes,
day,
exactly.
like, I'll immediately somehow create
Yeah.
structure within that and predictability. But I think, yeah, like, it is very comfortable for me to be in my routine. But my routine is productive for the goals that I have.
Mm-hmm.
So, I am in the comfort zone, but I'm still kind of progressing. And don't get me wrong, a lot of those routines are still challenging. Like, pushing myself at the gym, still hard,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a part of my comfortable routine.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, yeah.
But the main differentiator is those things aren't keeping you stuck. They're actually your baseline foundations that enable your accelerators, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the really important thing is that you have built each of those comforts into your life. So the interesting thing there is the things that are uncomfortable at first, like at first, sometimes it's uncomfortable to be like, no, I'm going to go to bed instead of stay up late watching TV, or I'm going to say no to these friends to do this thing. Or, it's uncomfortable for me to like, I'm bored having the same breakfast every day and that's uncomfortable. I don't like that, whatever
Mm-hmm.
it is. Those are things though that feel uncomfortable at first, but then when they become comfortable over time if you keep doing
Yes.
them. And so that to me is the productive comfort. It's you've built these routines that allow you to do more and to break out of your comfort zone in other ways, but also they are earned comforts. They are
Yeah.
comforts you have chosen and built over time from things that weren't always comfortable.
Yes, exactly. And sometimes the things that you used to think were comfortable end up being uncomfortable. Like, for example, like going out and have a few drinks is like a totally normal, comfortable thing for a lot of people. But now if I have a few drinks, the next morning I wake up and I'm actually anxious and uncomfortable because I mentally feel like my sleep was worse. I'm not as sharp when I do sit at my desk. My brain is not like clicking. I'm like,
Interesting.
the workflow is not good. So actually, things that used to be comfortable are now uncomfortable. Or like, people love sitting down with a bag of chips at night in the evening, and it's like comfort eating or whatever,
Yeah.
right? But now if I do that, it's like my digestion's weird. I look watery the next day. I feel like sluggish, and I know I didn't probably hit my numbers if I didn't account for it. For my nutrition, I know I wasn't making as much progress as I should. So that actually it flips from being the comfort to the discomfort.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't necessarily have to leave your comfort zone behind, I think is what we're getting to, right? Like you just need to either expand it, right? Make it a little bit bigger, include things that might be new to you so that you can start, progressing, or maybe build a new comfort zone, right? Mm-hmm. Just build a new version of comfort that you get to look forward to, because we're not here to say everyone needs to stay uncomfortable their whole lives. We're just saying the right amount of challenge, we're going to replace the word discomfort for challenge here, is the key to keeping progress happening, whether that's progress you need to unlock because you're currently in a situation that's not serving you, or whether that's progress you're curious to unlock because you deserve to experience that next level.
Exactly. And last thing I'll say is like, it's also okay to go through periods of time of like stabilization in between pushes for discomfort, right? Absolutely. So like, let's say you just do something that's really challenging, right? Like you set this goal, you push yourself, you accomplish it. Doesn't mean that you immediately need to set another extremely challenging goal. It could be like, hey, my goal is to like maintain stability, chill for a bit. I'm still setting other goals and the next goal, but maybe to a different level of extremeness or whatever. So anyways, yeah.
You don't need to be constantly uncomfortable, right? And I think achieving a goal is that opportunity for you to build that comfort in at that level, right? And if you're not doing that, then you're not really actually achieving that comfort at that next level, right? Yeah. Which is what then I think allows you to get to that future level. If you're like not comfortable at one level, you can't move on to the next one. Like you can't skip 5 levels ahead. Yeah. But as long as you're continually building that next level of comfort, you're moving somewhere.
Exactly. Yeah. Great discussion. Okay, sweet. Let's wrap it up
for today. Yeah. Let us know, is your comfort zone one that's, hey, it's familiar and I'm kind of feeling stuck? Or is your comfort zone one where you're like, you know what, I'm actually pretty happy, but hey, maybe there is a next level for me? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, please don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a review even if you'd like to. We'd love to hear what your thoughts have been on the podcast so far. And as always, we will be back in your feeds with another episode of Truth Talks next Monday. Bye for now.